All right, everyone, the devil went down to Georgia and is looking for an election to steal. Colton Moore has moved to impeach Fani Willis. She's the district attorney down there for Fulton County, and Colton Moore is a member of the Senate down there. Whether this works or not is almost immaterial. The fact that we're having a conversation about her overstepping her power, to me, self-evidently she is. But I have political bias, and I wear it on my sleeves, and kind of do this shit for a living. And so I'm not holding back, I'm not hiding anything from people as far as the bias in my opinions on political issues. Fani Willis has charged Donald Trump with a laundry list of different charges, none of which make any fucking sense at all. It has been pointed out by several liberal commentators that the charges probably won't stick. The overstretching is severe. The only reason why the charges aren't being pushed back against by a supermajority of the U.S. public is because Orange Man bad. The propaganda has convinced half the population that Donald Trump is an evildoer. He's a treasonous seditionist. He's mentally retarded. He's basically waiting to be a dictator. If he gets back in there, he'll refuse to leave once his term ends because he's going to be afraid of being in prison and all of this cope. Orange Man bad. The public would never accept such charges under normal circumstances. She already would have been removed from her position if anybody else were the one being charged with a laundry list like this under such spurious circumstances attendant to already ongoing legal persecution. Please try and explain one thing to me, handful of liberals that lurk on my channel solely to downvote the videos. Yes, that happens to larger creators. It's about a 1 to 100 ratio. Pretty funny to watch them try. Please explain this to me. Under normal circumstances, does a person get charged with multiple counts by multiple disparate legal bodies in this frame of time? Can you name any other instance of this happening? I mean, literally in U.S. history. I can't. It may have happened in severe persecution. I wonder in those cases, did the person ever get exonerated retroactively? I bet that they did. You're telling me that every court in the land lacked the evidence to charge Donald Trump with anything until the same few months time frame, long after he leaves the presidency, coincidentally, after a number of investigations into Trump, into his taxes, into Pissgate, etc., J6, had already fallen through. Those investigations led literally nowhere. All of a sudden, though, in a short span of time, New York, with those cases, with the fraud charges, D.C., with Smith, Jack Smith, Georgia with Fulton County, and now possibly Arizona, all found just enough evidence to be able to charge multiple felonies over the same span of a few short months. That's not normal. It's called coordination. What they're doing is they're trying to levy a million charges against him in 4 or 5 different courts, so he has to be taken off the campaign trail. He can't fundraise. He has to pay enormous legal expenses. They're trying to parasitize him. They're worried he's going to get back into office. This is political persecution. It literally is like a witch trial. None of these charges have any specific evidence behind them that can't be easily debunked or at least radically questioned under constitutional law. Look at the DA's case in New York. In New York, you've got a dozen fraud charges, or 20 fraud charges, something against Trump. I've lost track at this point. There's so many. They are artificially upgraded misdemeanors for which Trump has already explained the money. He already explained it. They decided to go forth anyway. Look at the data retention and presidential papers case with Jack Smith. At least 99% of the content that was raided by the FBI at the Mar-a-Lago was not classified. It was Time Magazine's newspaper clippings and personal effects, and Melania's underwear apparently. I'm sure that they were doing sniff tests on those. That's what it was. The handful of classified material there is just a doppelganger of what Joe Biden, Mike Pence, and others have done as well, while not having the legal cloak of saying, well, Presidential Records Act, I determined these were my personal effects, which the president can do unilaterally. That's, by the way, the concordance to the Clinton sock drawer papers scandal back long ago. He can just do that unilaterally. The one piece of material there that could have been improperly taken, which is the paper with Milley encouraging a war in Iran, falls through when you consider the fact that they're trying to pin him as having shown this to people without any first-hand evidence whatsoever. They have an audio clip. Well, audio clips can't show you physical actions. He could have been waving around a Chinese meal receipt for all we know. So Colton Moore has moved to impeach Fani Willis. In this case, even some liberals have determined that the case is spurious. They'll go along with Alvin Bragg and they'll say, well, Jack Smith's really going to get his ass. Okay, maybe not. We're not sure. I mean, it would be hilarious if all the charges failed right before the election and Trump surges by 10 points. Then I'd start questioning whether maybe they flipped him and they're getting him in there as a symbol or something like that. Hey, he's going to be uniparty, but pretend not to be or something like that. Crazier conspiracies have come true in the future. I'll keep an open mind for everything. Judge him by his actions, not by his words. That's why he did the first term. That's why I'm going to vote for him again. Colton Moore has moved to impeach. And that's because in Georgia, number one, it's not like New York or D.C. You have a more receptive population there. It's about 50-50. Georgia used to be a fairly red state. Now it's sort of the mean, median, and mode swing state, which Florida used to be. Now Florida's leaning red. So that's number one. You've got a possibility. Number two, the congressional composition is a bit better. Like in New York, yeah, the New York Senate is really going to impeach Alvin Bragg. You'll totally have the votes for that, dude. Hell could fall into the living world and there'd be volcanoes everywhere and Satan flying through the air, and still I couldn't imagine a magical scenario in which New York State does that. D.C.? Oh, you mean that place that's like 85-90% rock-ribbed Democrats? Yeah, I'm sure, by the way, that Trump will have a very, very fair jury trial in a place like D.C. I think they're constantly perturbing to move venues. I agree with the decision. The one problem is Kemp. Kemp, as the de facto leader of the party there in Georgia, is effectively like a Sununu Republican. So he's not really full TDS acerbic towards Trump like I fucking hate you. So he's not like a Chris Christie, but he's not on board with him. He's more of a DeSantis Republican or something. So you can't expect the governor to lend any ideological help when the House and the Senate are considering this, if it even comes forward for a vote. In the end, there's a remote possibility that it carries, but it's a remote one. Don't hang your hat on this particular attack line in Fulton County. Hang your hat on the fact that even some Democrats are very, very upset about the charges happening because more and more people are thinking it's political persecution when you're levying charges that probably don't stick. They're very worried about the Georgia case. To hear the bravado of some real TDS sufferers, well, they've got him this time. This is the case that will break the camel's back. Then the more cerebral ones chime in and say, I'm not sure that this was a good idea. We probably should just focus on Jack Smith's case because it's more expansive, it's more well-funded, you've got a DC venue potentially, you've got a sympathetic judge, etc., etc., etc. That one's more likely, and the Georgia charges being overstretching. She's also arrogant and smug as hell. When she was giving her presser, it's like, Donald Trump will have to play by the rules like anyone else. Oh yes, that's literally how she was acting. Like a smug jackass. Hey, I'm a prosecutor. I'm the DA. I can do whatever I want, and I know it. I'm a bad cop, and there's nothing you can do about it. Hey, I'm gonna bust your ass. It's basically being a hard ass, being a jackass at the same time. So I wish Colton Moore and the others well, but again, the chance isn't great. It's there, but it's low levels. It's sort of like, yeah, Chris Christie could become a president of the United States. What are the odds of it? That's sort of how I look at it. That's about all. Peace out.